Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trading Movies. I'm Junaid,
And I'm Omer.
and today we're talking about BookSmart. But before we get into that, Omer, what did you watch this weekend?
So this weekend I saw this new movie called Missing. It came out last Thursday. It's the second installment of the Netflix film, which came out in 2017 called Searching. If anyone's seen that, it stars
John Chu?
and it is about his daughter who goes missing and he's trying to find out what happened to her, and it's all on a computer screen, comprised of Facebook messages, phone calls, FaceTimes, and this whole mystery that's set up just online. So this is the second installment. It's a mother who's gone on vacation and her 18-year-old daughter at home goes to pick her up at the airport and she never shows up, so try to figure out what happened to her mom. So it's another movie like that, based fully online. um, Great concept, cool way to show it. It's funny when you watch a movie like that in theaters. I found the experience like, hey, this is weird. I'm watching like a
It's
big
jarring,
screen.
yeah.
It's jarring. Just it's a big screen of like Facebook messages and iMessages and FaceTimes, and it's like it's not generally what you would see in a movie theater, right? Like the type of movie. So it almost makes me wonder if another one comes out in this installment, would I just wait for it to come out on Netflix, or would I actually go watch it?
Yeah, it definitely seems like one of those movies that did really well, or would do really well in the pandemic setting, where everyone's watching on a laptop, maybe in bed, or on an iPad, which a lot of people do watch movies.
Yeah.
You mentioned it's an installment. Is it like a sequel? Like you have to watch the first one to understand it, or is it just the same style of movie making?
Just the same style of movie making. So no, you don't have to watch the first one at all to get what's happening in this. Completely different story, no character overlaps, nothing like that happens. So it's a very solo film again, but it's just a second installment, meaning it's just the same type of movie.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's a low budget way to film a movie that's engaging, but I could see more streamers taking a chance on this because it's a low effort in terms of the scale compared to Avatar: The Way of Water. James Cameron, what up? So I'm surprised they haven't tried more of these because it's a cool concept.
Yeah, so but it's cool also because of the way you can relate to it.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, okay, if I was in the situation, what would I do first? Like with my gadgets, with my laptop, with emails.
Everyone has a WhatsApp,
Yeah.
Facebook, or whatever.
What trails would I be looking at? Who would I be messaging? Who would I be calling?
Mhm.
What would I be thinking to find clues from because there's so much you can find online now, online tracking, and everything. It's like, what would I do?
Yeah,
to try to get information.
Yeah, you might even have a podcast, right? It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. So you watched Missing. You mentioned before we recorded you watched an episode of a TV show. Care to talk about that?
The Last of Us. Full disclosure beforehand, I've never played the game. So the show I was watching with no idea on what happens in the game, what the main story is, apart from it's like an apocalypse going on,
Yeah.
and this disease is spreading around that's essentially turning people into zombies.
Uh-huh.
So I saw the first episode. I thought it was really good.
Mhm.
And then you're the one who actually told me that you saw the side by side screen grab
Yeah.
on YouTube of how they filmed it compared to the video game.
Yeah.
And the scenes that
It's amazing, right?
I was like, wow, this is really good. Especially the scene in the first episode when they're driving to get to that little town.
Yeah.
And he's like backing up because there's people running at them and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is great.
It's
yeah.
It's amazing because when you think about it, how many video game movies have failed when all the fans want is a screen for screen remake of the cutscenes. It's like all the work is there, it's done. Just copy it. But for some reason they all inevitably fail. Yeah. So Umar, I think you've only seen episode 1. Episode 2 is out as of Sunday night. I guess that's a good segue into what I watched this weekend because I did watch The Last of Us episode 2. Again, honest and straightforward rendition of the video game. So episode 2, again, dials it up. It's really good. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it. In addition to that, I watched some more TV. I got into the Chernobyl TV show, which is another HBO show.
Interesting, yes.
I didn't watch it when it initially came out, but it was always in the back of my head for 2 reasons. One, I'm a sucker for a good British actor or actress. I just love them. And 2, historical, like any movie that or film or TV show that takes place in a historical setting, I love when they have to think about what they're wearing and these cars have to be era specific and what songs would be on the radio. And I just love that, the whole considering that aspect of the film or the TV show. And then the last thing I watched, I thought you would find interesting, is an Angelina Jolie film called Those Who Wish Me Dead from, I think it's 2021.
I've heard of this one. I haven't seen
It's like
it.
a 90s action movie.
Yeah.
It is interesting. There are so many good actors in it. So it's got Littlefinger from Game of Thrones,
Oh,
Aidan
yeah, okay.
Gillen. It's got John Bernthal, who famously is in Walking Dead, and he played the Punisher and stuff like that.
Okay.
He's a good actor. Angelina Jolie, Nicholas Hoult from the Nicholas Hoult Most Punchable Face
Yes,
Award,
yeah.
from his famous, that award that he is named after. So very interesting movie. It's essentially a wolf and cub story where she takes this kid in because he's being chased by these assassins and blah blah blah. If this was the 90s, it would be a $200 million movie, but because it was released in 2021, it was just whatever. But we don't make enough of these movies, and I want to see more of them. That's all I can say. It's not a great movie,
Okay.
but I would.
But you want to see more of
I
it.
want to see. Well, I just want to see more of people like just trying.
Yeah.
Try. Angelina Jolie, for some reason, thinks she's Jason Bourne and only does movies like this now, and I'm like,
she's been doing it for. She's done quite a few of these.
she doesn't do like dramatic roles anymore.
Yeah.
I think part of it is because, okay, when you see a certain actress, there's some actresses or actors you can see, and you can think of them as like coming into the character, right? Like Christian Bale. Okay, yeah, I can imagine him as the machinist, or I can imagine him as Batman. Kate Blanchett, same thing. I can imagine her when she gets into her characters. Angelina Jolie, I think, is one of those people who just happens to be too beautiful. You can't like if she were to play a cop, it's not realistic, right? It's just not.
Yeah.
It doesn't make. I couldn't imagine her as like a regular lawyer or a down on her luck insurance salesman or a chef. It just doesn't work for me.
She doesn't fit that mold, I guess.
You can just only be an international spy. Like that's it.
Yeah, because like you look at her movies, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this action star, this really good looking girl.
Even Tomb Raider, it's like she's like a globe trotting archaeologist. Wanted, same thing. You're an assassin.
Yeah.
It's.
Although you know what? Have you ever seen Changeling?
No, I haven't.
So that's a movie where she plays a very vulnerable character. Yeah. I believe it's a 2008 release, if I'm correct. It's a based on a true story of when I believe it's based in the 1930s or so. And it's about her child who disappears.
Yeah. I remember the trailers for that. That's funny because it reminds me of she's also in The Good Shepherd, but she just plays like a wife. Right, and she doesn't get very much screen time, but it's just something to think about. Like even in Eternals, she was just the crazy fighter person,
exactly.
Right? It wasn't. She had no emotional depth to her character. It was just like my brain hurt from war. I kill people, and that's about it. Give her more roles, man. Give her, or maybe she just doesn't want to do it. Maybe that's just.
Maybe she has a. I mean, I think she's done a little some versatility.
Yeah,
with Changeling and stuff like that, but
she's coming into that Jason Statham, Liam Neeson of just give me action roles.
Give me action roles.
Give me like aggressive reloads of guns, and I'm good. But yeah, that's kind of what I watched this weekend. So some mixing it up. In terms of the box office, a couple of interesting things. Avatar still at the top, made 20 million last week. Puss in Boots, 2 billion overall, which is I think we predicted that was going to happen. Yes. So that's interesting. Puss in Boots is now up to number 2. They were number 3 last week. They made 11 million, solid. Megan dropped down to number 3, made under 10 million bucks. Missing, which is the film you watched, pretty good debut at 9 million this week. They're number 4. Again, it's not a lot of money to produce those films, so I'm sure they've probably recouped some of that back already. And then lastly, A Man Called Otto at number 5, which is the Tom Hanks film that, if you recall last week, I mentioned just sounds really sad. Yes. So if that's what you're in for, I mean, good for you, I guess.
A Tom Hanks movie is always going to be up there, though.
Yeah, I think he's one of those people who can draw people in. I didn't really see any new trailers that piqued my interest this week, so we can skip that. Yeah, you mentioned Avatar breaking 2 billion, but I think we should talk about the real big news, which is Oscar nominations are out. Omar and I are not big Oscar nominee people, but I think we need to talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Well, it's a movie that we would brings more interest on our part to the Oscars.
Definitely, because we love that movie, and maybe if they win Best Picture, Omar, we can drop that secret bonus episode that we first recorded.
Yes. So for anyone listening, we did an episode where I had given Junaid the task of watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, and we have a whole episode filmed on our review of the film, our discussion of the film, our awards to the film that we would give, MVP, all of those. And we never actually dropped the episode. We started a 2023 episode, which you guys have on there. So we could, if they do win,
We'll
it
drop a
might,
special bonus
yeah,
episode.
we'll drop a special bonus episode for sure,
Yeah.
because it's a movie that, but generally, for the reason this brings interest for us to the Oscars is because, generally speaking, the Oscar nominations are never movies that really appeal to us on a grand scale.
Yeah.
There might be one or two in there we're like, okay, yeah, you know what, that was good. But generally, the ones that we really love throughout the year, they're never nominated for Oscars. It's always a more artsy film that we think we're not really going to be interested in.
Yeah, Born Legacy is not getting an Oscar
Exactly,
nomination.
exactly. But even like if there's a year where there's a Christopher Nolan release and we're like, hey, that was great.
Yeah.
It's never nominated for an Oscar.
And I think they're reacting to that because they've seen the numbers of their viewership fall precipitously over the past few years. Because this year, if you look at their Best Picture noms, they've got The Way of Water, which was a huge financial and cultural success. They've got, Top Gun Maverick, which was a huge cultural and financial success. And then they've got Everything Ever All at Once, which is both of those kind of areas as well. So I think they're and they expanded the number of movies to 10 as well in the category.
Yeah.
So I think that's positive. But Everything Ever All at Once, they lead the way. They have 11 nominations and they're in all the big categories.
Yeah, exactly. But it just goes to show kind of that, like, how swayed the Oscars can be.
Mm-hmm.
Just because there's for the longest period of time, it's like everyone knew what the formula was to make an Oscar movie.
Yeah.
And there are directors that were going out there specifically to make that type of movie.
Yeah.
And then their movie would be nominated.
Yeah.
And all those types of movies, we all know what they were, and we all just show no interest in them. Except it's just the Oscar. What do you call
give
them?
me a romance film set in a war.
Yeah.
And it's 4 hours long.
Yeah, but then you look at, like, I think this year's, it's to see Avatar, and there's new.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't see that.
Well, I thought if anything we would see a lot of it in technical categories, but this is.
But as a film,
yeah. I'm glad that they're doing it. It'd be interesting to see who ends up winning. I think right now odds makers aren't really sure yet. As of I haven't seen any of the updated numbers coming out after. But Tar, have you heard of Tar? Kate Blanchett's movie?
Oh, I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, she plays, I believe, like a composer. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's a really good film, so I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out.
But more on the Oscars later. Maybe when it gets closer to it, we can discuss it more. Most likely, we'll discuss the winners after it happens. For some reason, Omer and I aren't invited. I can't believe why. But more on that later. Next, we're gonna go to the Masala Minute.
Masala Minute.
Yeah, we're working on that theme song. So Omer, what's on the Masala Minute for you today?
Okay, well, just to brush the Oscars one more time, RRR, which is a huge Indian success of 2022. We're seeing them now. The film itself, it was nominated for a Golden Globe.
Yeah.
But they didn't make the Oscar nominations.
And they didn't get international feature, which everyone thought they would be nominated for.
So I believe at Golden Globe, not only did they get international feature, but they also just got Best Picture nomination.
I think it was in and I think their nom might have been in comedy and musical.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
I did not know.
Yeah, because it's comedy and musicals together.
Okay.
But for this one, interestingly, they didn't get any nominations in any other categories except for the Best Original Song for Natu Natu.
Yes.
And I think some people expected them to at least get Best International Feature.
Yeah.
A nom at least would have been huge, but a lot of people online are mad about that, and I can see why. It was a huge movie on top of the film culture, all throughout the year.
It's a huge film. It's one of those movies that is like the definition of larger than life.
Yeah, definitely.
Just because there's so much over the top action in there, there's so much stuff that's going on that's like, there's no physics in that movie.
Yeah, if you don't have the 3 or whatever hours to watch the movie, just watch the Natu Natu video, and I think you'll get an understanding. That's a microcosm of the movie, exactly. But you'll get an understanding for what Omer means when he speaks about it that way.
Yeah, Natu Natu in general. So the song deserves its due, so they may actually win that. I think.
I hope so.
I think they'll win.
They deserve something.
Yeah. So, but apart from RRR, we have a new trailer that just dropped today. Actually, though, Ranbir Kapoor and Shraddha Kapoor coming in to a Love Ranjan film called Tu Jhooti Main Makkaar. So that one is again directed by Love Ranjan, who's directed films like Sonu Ki Titu Ki Sweetie and Pyar Ka Panchnama 1 and 2. A lighthearted rom-com with some drama, some comedy. It's one of those films that it's a good feeler. You go with your girlfriend, your wife.
Feel good movie.
A feel good movie.
Yeah.
And you just go and have fun at the theaters. So it's one of those movies that I think people are looking forward to just for a lighthearted, nice film to watch, which I think it's going to be. And of course, we can't do Masala Minute today without talking about the big thing that's happening tomorrow.
Baton!
That tomorrow is the day, everyone. So a few things about the movie so far. Without even seeing the movie as of yet, with no reviews on the movie itself out yet, because the shows haven't even come out yet. But it's broken advanced booking records. So far. It's releasing in over 100 countries, biggest opening for an Indian film. It's releasing in a bunch of languages, and it's already in overseas market. It's made quite a bit of money just in advance bookings.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. We are watching it in exactly 25 hours and I want to say 18 minutes, 17 minutes. So I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. And I guess we should tell them now, Umar. You guys are going to have a bonus episode later this week because Umar and I are going to have a full breakdown of the movie. We are going to do both a spoiler and non-spoiler part of the podcast. So look for that on your favorite podcast application this week.
Yes, we will be doing a review, spoiler and non-spoiler, this Thursday.
Yeah,
the day after we watch the movie.
There will be a lot of discussion about workout routines, abs, bicep curls. There's a whole fitness regimen section of the podcast. We're very excited.
But yeah, so we're looking forward to it. Get your tickets to watch the film if you want to check out our spoiler review right the day after Thursday. But yes, we can look forward to that. But that's our Masala Minute for today.
All right, so Umar, let's get into BookSmart.
Get into BookSmart.
So let's start up top with some just general information. So BookSmart is a May 24th, 2019 release, so relatively new. Budget of $6 million, box office of $25 million, so pretty decent in terms of the money times. Actually, I don't know if that might be. Yeah, that's correct. So they made pretty good money. They 5x'd it. The actors: Beanie Feldstein, Caitlin Dever, Jessica Williams, Lisa Kudrow, Will Forte, Jason Sudeikis, Billy Lord, Skylar Gisondo. I'm assuming majority of those you've never heard of before.
Yep.
Director Olivia Wilde. Have you heard of her?
Yes, I have.
And yeah, so let's get started with a little bit of a plot summary. So this is, I think the best way to describe it is there's two girls who are graduating high school. It's their last night before they go off to university or before they graduate, and they haven't partied at all. So they want to party, and they get invited to one, and shenanigans ensue. They have to go there. There's a variety of shenanigans, including other parties, dinner parties, drugs,
boats.
So yeah, Umar, let's start with, what were your thoughts? How'd you like the movie?
The movie was entertaining. I would say my initial thoughts so much reminded me of Superbad, which you had said offset that it's essentially the Superbad, but the main characters are girls.
Yeah.
So I loved that it kind of brought back that Superbad vibe. The story followed that pretty much exact same.
It's
flow.
It's funny you mentioned that because the way Superbad opens, if you've ever seen like a DVD version of it, is the opening credits and they're dancing.
Yes.
Right. And the way the movie starts is Evan comes to pick up, or Seth comes to pick up Evan, whatever. Someone comes to pick up the other, right? Same thing in this one. Right? One of them comes to pick up the other, and they're on their way to high school, right? Amy comes to pick up Molly.
Yeah.
So yeah, they very much the same beats, and they're also the same aged characters.
Yep.
And they're at the same stage in their life, which is to say they're about to transition to college or university, and they're going to leave their high school community. So the same kind of
exactly
going out into the open.
And the same drop comes, I guess, Amy following the same where she didn't tell Molly that she was leaving for a longer term than she thought she was going to go for.
Yeah, and that's kind of the emotional crescendo of the movie. But in terms of the comedy of the film, how'd you find it?
I thought it was funny. I thought it was good.
I can't remember the last time. So I watched this when I was actually on vacation. When I went to British Columbia.
Oh, okay.
So I watched it with my buddy and his girlfriend, and he mentioned to me, he's like, "We got to watch this movie. It's a great movie." So we turned it on, and I think I laughed the whole time because it's like a rapid fire of jokes. There's like a joke a minute. It's
Yeah, it's
consistent.
true.
Even the background stuff. Like I don't know if you noticed when they were showing the recording of like her room when they were displaying her room. She's got like Michelle Obama in the background. She's got like very current and random stuff. Like they
Yes.
got the Women's March stuff,
Yeah.
and you can just tell that these characters are like they're real. They exist somewhere.
Yeah.
They're not made up.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. It's a very relatable film for a lot of high schoolers, I would think.
Yeah, I think what you said was right, that it's like a generate, like they can make a movie like this every 10 years
Yeah, for sure.
with new tropes, new technology, etc.
Yeah, and jokes that appeal to the generation at hand. Yeah.
Yeah, because like Superbad, what's the main issue is their car gets towed, right?
Yes.
And if you remember that movie, they do have cell phones, but those cell phones aren't smartphones.
Yes.
So in today's movie, if the car does get towed, they would just call a lift, right? But that's not their issue in this movie. They have a separate issue, which is they don't know where to send the lift to. They don't have the address.
Yeah.
And that leads to a whole bunch of other funny stuff, which is it's a modern problem, right? Even though it's not really a problem, it's a very modern problem.
Yeah, very modern problem. I liked the addition. I thought the side characters, when they would come in, they added to the film. They had their own quirks, made it entertaining. And whoever came in as side characters,
Gigi,
Gigi.
She's so funny. I love her. Okay, first fun fact of the movie, Gigi. Do you know who her mother is in real life?
No.
Carrie Fisher.
What?
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
I've
got some more fun facts for you. Don't worry.
Okay.
I've got some more. So that's the first one. Also, another fun fact: Olivia Wilde and Jason Sudeikis I think they're married at this time.
At this time, they were,
which explains why he's in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Which is another great thing. Jason Sudeikis is a principal, and then he's their Uber driver, and just the chef's kiss scene, because it's so funny when they mention like, oh, it's so sad how badly teachers are paid. Yep, that's why I'm driving Uber, driving Lyft. It's so funny. Again, very realistic thing.
Yeah, something I think teachers can relate to.
Sadly. This is a pro teaching podcast.
Yes.
But that movie, overall, BookSmart, you're right, it hits the same beats as Superbad, but I think it does it in its own organic way. So the way they had that one character, I can't remember his name, the one who has the party on the boat.
Nick?
Yeah, Nick. Side note, very punchable face. I think you'll see later on in the awards category that guy has an especially punchable face. But I think it kind of talks about the problems that teenagers face in a more realistic format that maybe Superbad didn't do as much. Like Superbad did talk about some of those problems, but I found this movie, what it was so good at was each of the students they showed in more detail, they really had something that they were struggling with, right? Like there's that character Annabelle that they call AAA. Like she had her own issues, right? But they go into that and they explain like she's not all you hear, right? Yeah. Or the other kind of big thing is there's a classic trope in movies where the people who party and they do all that stuff, they don't get good grades. And the whole crux of this movie is that's not true, because it's not, right?
That's essentially the message I think it was trying to give. It's like you can have fun.
Yeah, work-life balance.
Yeah, exactly. You can have your work-life balance and you can still. And that washroom scene was just, it was kind of gold. The washroom scene where Molly's in the stall.
Oh my god!
The three are talking out there about how
she's a butter personality.
She's a butter personality. Oh. Just laying into it, not knowing that she's just sitting in the stall there. And she comes out and starts bragging about how she's going to Yale and how she's going to secure this, and make this much money and all this. And she's like, I hope. And the line that I loved was when she ends with, and I hope you guys are as happy as I am with my choices years from now. And then just one by one, I'm going to go to Yale next year.
I'm going to Stanford soccer.
Stanford soccer. You know,
I'm going
to work for Google.
That scene is so much funnier a second time around because you know it's coming.
Yeah.
You know she's about to get dunked on, like triple dunked. And it's funny, right? Because that's your first indication of their high school, and you're like, oh man, this is a really mean and toxic place. This sucks. But then as the movie kind of goes forward, and eventually when they do get to the party, you learn that no, it's not really like that. They're actually a pretty open and accepting group, which is not the case in Superbad, because the people at the party were horrible.
Yeah.
There's some suspect things that happened. But I thought that change was, it was refreshing to see that the high school wasn't just filled with bullies and that some people did have a positive experience.
Yeah, and I think the other contrast with Superbad is that Superbad had a very simple premise, and that was we need to go to this party to try to get laid.
Yeah, that's pretty
Right.
much
That was
it.
very simple. That's all they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And whereas the message of this movie was more, we need to go to this party because we felt like we haven't lived.
Yeah, even though there was a sexual undertone to it,
The
they
other was,
they
of
both
course,
wanted
yeah,
to.
they both wanted to get with a certain person.
Yeah,
and
but they
whatnot,
realized that
yes.
they hadn't experienced, they hadn't had the breadth of experience that their friends had had, and they are all going to the same places they are, but they're probably more prepared for it as a whole.
And the only reason this epiphany came up in them is because she found out that, hey, look at all these people who have also had a lot of fun. They're going to the same schools or better schools than I'm going to.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because this is an underrated thing that you probably won't catch the first time you watch the movie. But did you hear in their conversation with the principal, with Jason Sudeikis, when they have a policy of not sharing what school they go to?
Yes.
So that they don't make other people feel bad. And I think it's implied that Molly is the one who came up with that policy. So in the end, she was hoisted by her own petard, because if she had known where other people were going, she would have learned earlier that, like, I don't need to be this hardcore, right? But because she had that rule, because she felt like she was protecting the lesser quote unquote students, she actually got backfired on, and she realized my experience was BS compared to what these guys did.
Very true.
So that's actually really interesting. In terms of some of the other aspects of the film I wanted to touch on, let's talk about Molly. What do you think about her as a character?
Definitely, so to start off with, I felt for her a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because, obviously a very hardworking, staying away from trouble, focused student who has her life seemingly planned out, who wants to achieve
to a T, like for every year, every summer.
Exactly. What's going to happen, how she's going to go up in every position she enters, and how she's going to become, I believe she wanted to
Supreme
become
Court, Court Justice.
Yeah, Supreme Court Justice. Yeah. So, a very focused student who kind of finds out that, I haven't lived and I'm about to end high school, and I haven't had a teenage life where it's like I haven't gone to a party yet in my life. So I felt bad in that sense. And the rest of the movie went on a little bit.
Yeah. You get more and more of her character. Yeah.
You get more and more of her personality, more and more of how she's pretty dominating.
Yes.
And she's quite pushy.
Well, and don't forget, there's the whole Malala piece,
and the
right?
Malala piece,
where she calls Malala first, which is the code word to, like, you have to trust me. Let's do this.
Yeah.
She calls Malala first, and what's her friend's name? Emily? Amy is like, okay, yeah, all right, you call Malala. But then when Amy calls Malala, when she's clearly going through something, Molly's like, no, this is BS. Yes. And it seems like, at least from my view, the second time watching the movie, I felt a lot more like Amy was our avatar and Molly was another character who was almost, it kind of felt bad. I felt bad. Like, she felt like a mean to me.
Yeah.
I felt bad for Amy.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Which I think makes Amy like a central character, just because it connects her with us.
I also found her comedy to be more subtle and funnier than Molly's. I thought they're both very funny in the movie.
Molly was again, just to do a comparison with Superbad, Molly was Jonah Hill.
Okay, fun fact number 2.
Yeah, Molly was Jonah Hill essentially.
Beanie Feldstein, who's her brother.
Wait.
Jonah Hill. They're siblings. Yeah, they're actual siblings. It's just Jonah Hill changed. I think he has a stage name. But yeah,
no
they're
way.
Siblings. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So she's essentially playing his character in this film, where he's the one that's saying we got to get the booze, we got to go to the party,
got to get laid.
He's the one that's pushing, and I forgot what was the friend's name.
Evan.
Evan, yes. And Amy's Evan.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, fine, let's do it. Okay, fine. The person who's just a pushover will just listen and do what the friend wants to do.
You know what I just realized? Amy and Evan have so many similarities too. Because remember in Superbad when he sings karaoke, and then Amy sings. Superbad, the karaoke scene is untouchable. Oh my god!
It's too good.
When all the dudes are doing like hard drugs, and he's just singing karaoke. But yeah, she has to sing karaoke too. Remember at the party. But
a lot of similarities.
Yeah, a lot of funny stuff. All right, so Omar, let's talk about the one key difference in this movie: the serial killer plot.
Well, it's funny because he shows up, in the first half as kind of a nobody.
he's actually a good guy.
He's a
Like
good
he's
guy?
telling them like, why are you
Yeah,
doing
why are you
this?
doing this? Why are you trusting me? Why are you getting into my car? I could abduct you. I could take you across the border right now. Like,
the detail with which I can have you hog-tied and
yeah,
zip-tied in a cabin
yeah.
in 40 minutes, and you're just the whole time you're like, oh.
But you never. I mean, my mind never went to the fact that it could be anything more. I was just funny, but you think about it, you're like, wow, that's genius.
Yeah, and actually from a writing perspective, I found it really clever how they used the video of them crushing boxes to be like, oh, they got the pizza from this pizzeria. So let's go to that pizzeria and get their address that way.
Yeah,
That was good writing, I thought. It was clever. But the whole having this conversation. So that scene is very funny because they don't have masks. So they put their hair in front of their faces, tie their hair, and they get in the back seat. And it's two teenage women and an unknown dude. And then halfway through this shakedown for an address, he realizes who they are and he pulls out a
and he
gun.
pulls-
And you're like, oh, this could have gone so badly. And honestly, there's a version of this film out there where it just shifts to a thriller horror at this point, and it just completely changes the whole tenor of the
But I love
movie.
the way they even introduce his character because if you remember, he's a pizza delivery guy.
Oh yeah, the
And
order.
he walks out. He walks out of the restaurant, and he has two pizzas. He's looking at the order he has to deliver, and he's like, two half cheese, half sausage pizzas, or just one cheese and one sausage pizza. What is wrong with these people?
That is such a great little piece of writing.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It just shows a guy who's so sick of his life, so
Yeah.
exasperated. The little detail of him driving a Honda Civic as
Yeah,
well, just
exactly.
classic pizza delivery car, and you just think that's a throwaway. And then the way the film ends is obviously Amy sacrifices her own life for the party,
Yeah.
and the cops take her away. And she had a couple funny lines where she's like, "I know my rights," and then there was one other one where she's like, she's getting pulled into the cop car, and she's like, "Shotgun." She's like, "Just kidding, I don't have one." That killed me for some reason, but she ends up in jail, and
yeah, the prison scene was interesting. Yeah.
yeah, that was, yes, interesting to say the least. But how did she get out of prison, Umar? What do? They trade the information that they know who this serial killer is, and it's because they happen to see a poster of
Yeah.
a sketch of him when
Yeah.
she's walking in, and boom, that's how they get out.
Yep.
Awesome. I love this. That's a really great twist to what overly seemed like a shot, not a
Yeah.
shot for shot remake, but a very similar Super Baddie movie.
Yeah, I mean, to what seemed like a very simple plot, just adding a little bit in there,
Yeah.
just to just make it a bit more, like, oh, cool,
And it gives them an opportunity to do that great sequence of them driving with the music and,
Yeah.
and all of that going kind of crazy.
Exactly.
That was the fun part. The other distinct thing there's two other things I wanted to discuss with you. One, so they're at Molly's house when they decide they're going to go to a party, right? And they come downstairs. Oh no, they're at Amy's house. And then they come downstairs, and there's Lisa Kudrow and Will Forte, her parents.
Yep.
And they're putting together a beautiful spread. And they're like, "Oh, sorry, we're going to Molly's house for sleepover." Umar, answer this question for me. Could they not have just had dinner and then gone to Molly's?
That's exactly.
Like, they put all this effort in.
They named all the foods.
There's beautiful thoughts.
It was so much time they took to prepare all
Olives
of that.
for how much I love you.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
come on.
So Sal, see you later. What was it? What was salsa? Something.
Yeah. Salsa, see you later.
Yeah. But it was so. I was like, just eat and go, man.
Yeah. But it made me think of something that we should definitely do a ranking of our top movie parents, because I think Will Forte and Lisa Kudrow are up there with the parents in Easy A. Stanley Tucci.
Oh,
Yeah, such great parents in that movie. But yeah, we should definitely do a ranking of our favorite movie parents. But yeah, that really irked me. Like, come on, man, just eat the food.
Just eat the food,
and then you can go. It's a heavy night of drinking. You're gonna need a basis of food here, or you're gonna be crazy in like an hour.
But I even thought why go with the can Amy sleep over plot line?
Well, I think it's because Molly probably told her parents she's sleeping over at Amy's or something like that, so that they could go out all night. Who knows?
True, I guess so. Yeah.
Or maybe maybe Amy's parents don't let her stay out all night.
Yeah. True. Okay.
But yeah, that really annoyed me. And you know what? Do better for your parents, especially you're going away for university. You're gonna know. You're gonna remember. You're gonna be like, man, Tostitos, not as cheap as I thought. I should have eaten this salsa when I had it for free.
Well, all the amazing spread there. I should have eaten something, man.
Yeah. Shouts out to Lisa Kudrow and Will Forte. They were fun in this movie. The last piece that we need to discuss, and this is as two people who live in a country where real estate is a hot topic. The aunt's house was
Aw.
amazing. What a brilliant house.
I wish they kind of told us what she did.
Right? Because it is beautiful. They've got
Yeah.
like an amazing kitchen. They've got
Yep.
the pool set up, and there's like 5 different rooms. So there's like 5 different parties going on. My high school parties were not like that, man. That
Yeah,
was
no,
crazy.
it's pretty crazy actually. It was an insane house.
And it's in California, so
Yeah.
like it's ballin'.
Yeah, it's probably in some Beverly Hills or something.
Yeah, it was a sweet pad. And honestly, if I was in high school, I could see why they want to throw a party there.
Exactly.
Like the pool and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was dope.
I mean, you're a popular kid if you have a house like that, or if you know someone, a family member
Your
who has a
aunt is
house
willing
like
to
that.
let
Yeah.
you stay at a house
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. But I like that when they did show up to the house, everyone was happy to see them. That was a cool moment.
Yeah, I was actually I thought we were gonna have another moment of like they're gonna be like, what are they doing here? Why are they here? This kind of stuff, just not welcome. But everyone just accepted them. Everyone
I
was
think
talking
that's
to them.
that's what kind of flips the trope, right? It's typically in these kinds of coming of age movies, it's always the dorks who are like, oh, the cool people are such losers and like they're so mean. But in this movie, they have that trope, but it flips it because it's actually not true. The cool people are cool, but they're also not mean. They're nice.
They just
apparently, based on what we see.
Yeah.
And typically the way we see it when we see it from the viewpoint of the nerds or whatever you want to call them, the dorks, is that the cool people are hateful, rude, mean. And that's the only thing you see. There's no character development of them. But in this, you see it's the opposite. They're actually full out people.
Yeah.
And that's a nice change of pace, I think. Because even in Superbad, like we mentioned before, I think the cool people weren't very cool. Like they weren't nice. Some of them were mean,
Some of them were mean, yeah. But the thing with the cool people in these movies always have like their gang, right? And the thing with their gang is, if you look at it, even if you look at Superbad and you look at this, the gang of friends that these cool people consist of always also has people who are very different from each other.
Yeah.
For example, Emma Stone's character in Superbad. She was one of the cool people, but she was not like the cool people.
Yeah, I think it's like the circles, the individual friend circles, they merge together, and there's some people who are friends with others, but not friends with everyone else in the circle and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's not like Emma Stone, clearly was, interested in or gelling with Jonah Hill's character, but like she's friends with these cool people who rag on him.
Yeah,
so it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I think it does make it a bit more modern in that sense.
Yeah.
I also liked how both characters do have love interests, but that's not the focus of the movie. The same way, at least, it was in Superbad.
Yeah.
In this case, they both have crushes, and it is rather funny how their two love interests end up hooking up. Like both of their love interests hook up with each other.
Yeah.
That's kind of random and funny. I can't remember the last time that happened in a movie. But that's not the main focus. The main focus still is their friendship, and that's the fun part.
But back to the cool people in this movie. If you go back to the washroom scene, where you have the 3 so-called cool people who are talking about how she's a butter personality, all this stuff. Despite the scene starting like that, that scene actually ended with Molly's character kind of looking more like the bad guy.
Absolutely, and I think that's another example of great writing.
Exactly,
right? Because they kind of spit it back on her, like, you actually don't know us.
Yeah,
you think you know
exactly. Us. But not only do they spit it back to her, but they spit it back in a non-offensive way. I mean, the girl was kind of offensive, but the 2 guys, the guy who's like, I'm going to play soccer and I'm going to go work for Google, they kind of just stand there and they're just like, okay, I guess we should just go. But they didn't show any kind of animosity or any kind of like looking down looking down on her, which was interesting, making her look like, oh yeah, she's the weird one here.
I think Molly is the more interesting character between the 2 main characters, Molly and Amy.
Yeah.
Amy might be one that you agree with more, but Molly is the more interesting and definitely the more overbearing character. But if you watch this movie again and you look at all of her interactions, if she's not overpowering someone with like her force of her personality, then she's kind of being put in her place in most of these interactions throughout the movie. Even when she gets picked up on her way home after the party, she gets put in her place. Right, the other girl who's going to Yale, Annabelle. She puts her in her place. And also that scene is really funny because like whenever someone picks someone else up in a movie, they just pick them up and they start going. And in this scene, the first time I've ever seen it, she acknowledges. She's like, "Where the f do you live?" Like, they never talk about that. You just always pick someone up and you just go.
Yeah.
But you don't know where all of your classmates live.
Yeah,
that was
true.
funny. I found that great. Any other thoughts on the movie?
No, it's a fun watch for anyone who hasn't seen it. If you are one of those who have grown up watching Superbad, if that's your film, I definitely give this a shot if you haven't seen it, because it's a different take on a very similar style of movie making.
And what did you think about the ending?
It was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. I liked the ending. I liked that little serial killer thing they brought in.
Yeah,
because it was unexpected. We all thought this guy they see in the car, one scene done, and then he comes back in this way. Like, oh, cool! Look at that.
It also made me want pancakes when she ends, and she's like, "Let's go get pancakes." I was like, "I want pancakes." So let's shift gears then, Omar, and let's talk about our awards. So let's start from bottom up. Last week we announced a new award, the Nicholas Hoult Most Punchable Face Award. I think that goes to the actor Skylar Gisondo, who plays, I believe you said his name was Nick.
Yeah,
right?
Nick.
The guy who throws the cruise party. Oh my God, what a punchable face! What do you think?
The cruise party. Yes, I agree with you.
Oh, the hat
I have to give him
and
that
the
award.
car and the overly like.
Yeah, what was his name again?
I thought it was Nick. You said it was Nick, right?
Sorry, no, Nick was the one who threw the main party they were trying to.
Oh no, not Nick. The other guy. The guy who was driving the car.
Yeah, was driving the car and was like all over the top.
Yeah, I can't remember his name for some reason.
So it was a J, I believe.
Yeah.
But anyway, I agree.
Jared?
Maybe.
I can't remember.
Yeah. But I would give him that award as well, actually.
Okay, so then our next award is best sequence. So what was your favorite sequence of the movie?
I'm honestly, I think I have to give it to the washroom scene.
Yeah.
I mean, either the washroom scene or the serial killer scene, because that scene is just so funny after you find out he's a serial killer.
Yeah, that scene is hilarious.
Yeah.
So I had the serial killer definitely. The washroom scene is a good shout because it is early on in the movie, and that's a good.
It's the turning point of the film.
I think the two other ones I would consider is the whole Barbie sequence when they're on drugs. That one is really funny.
It's actually pretty good.
That one is really good. And I thought that when they're at the party and Amy goes into the pool and she's underwater, that scene I thought was really cool because you could tell it was done practically. They were actually like the camera was underwater and she was swimming.
Yeah.
And I felt like symbolically that was the moment where she let go of all of her inhibitions. You know, she got into the pool. She didn't care about her clothes, whatever. Just got into the pool and she felt free. And then she has she goes underwater, comes up, goes underwater. So that's maybe 20 seconds of freedom. And then she sees the person that she has a crush on with someone else. And then it all comes crashing down. And I found that whole scene very cathartic. And I thought it was very well shot because it made me feel like it made me want to go for a swim. Like, it was very cool.
That's a good shout out too. Actually.
Yeah, so I think my favorite though will probably end up being the serial killer in a car.
Yeah,
that one was really funny. Yeah, that's a good sequence. So what about your most efficient? So this goes to the character who had the least screen time but the most kind of bang for his buck. We call it the Steph Curry Award. Who did you think won that one?
For me, it has to be Jason Sudeikis.
He was amazing.
Like, I think 2 scenes in the movie, 3 maybe.
3. So he had the scene at school.
Yeah.
The scene in the lift. The Lyft driver. And at the end of graduation. And that lift scene, another great scene.
Oh, it was too good.
When they decide to watch X-rated material in the car, and then they put the aux on, and then what does he say? Like, that was a dope beat or something.
He's like, was that? What was his line? I can't remember his line.
Such a good line.
He's like, was that? Oh no. He's like, was that Cardi B?
Yeah.
It was so good. Oh, yeah. Man. It has to go to him. I think when he was on screen, it was hilarious.
Yeah. Great. Unfortunate that him and Olivia Wilde are not married
couldn't make
anymore.
Things work. Yeah. Were they ever married, or were they a couple just living together?
I'm not sure. I don't know. But this is her directorial debut.
Yeah.
So this is a really great
strong debut.
And this is why she got Don't Worry Darling, right?
Yeah.
This is why she got the funding for that, which I don't think was as good as this.
It's a movie we still got to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to check that out. But apparently it's a bit
underwhelming, maybe.
That's a reasonable way of putting it. I heard it's not good. Yeah. but I'll put it this way. I've heard it's like a thrillery movie, and those movies are very hit and miss. Some people love them, some people don't.
I think what people are saying about Don't Worry Darling is that it's an interesting concept, but the execution is missing.
Yeah, and I think it might be considering her first movie and then the jump she's making to that movie, it might be
Yeah.
like might
Growing
should have
pains.
been like a middle movie there in
Yeah.
between.
Because she went from a very simple comedy style
yeah
to a kind of larger than life
like a
concept.
thriller, sci-fi
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly. Yeah.
So that brings us to our final award. So our MVP. For me personally, I think it's gonna go to Caitlin Dever, I believe is how you pronounce her name. I hadn't seen her in anything else.
Caitlin, who she played?
She
Who
plays
was
Amy.
Amy? Okay.
I thought she was awesome in this movie, and she's very subtle, understated, but her comedy is really, really
Yeah.
on point. She makes a lot of, I would say, just quippy remarks, and I really enjoy that kind of comedy. And I thought even in the emotional scenes, like when she had that fight, or when they're in prison, I thought she really showed her acting chops. She
Yeah.
has a really wide range of emotionality, and I could see her coming in a dramatic movie and being a really good actress in that. But I don't know if I could see maybe I don't know if I could see Beanie Feldstein in a dramatic role. I
Yeah.
feel like she seems like to me someone who's gonna more inclined to comedy.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. So I would say, as a character, I connected more to and I liked Amy better.
Yeah.
But for the MVP award, I'm gonna go Molly.
Oh, interesting. Okay, why Molly?
And I'm gonna go Molly because I feel the same way I feel about her as I did about Jonah Hill in Superbad.
That's fair.
Okay, and both characters being similar, they annoy you, they frustrate you, they make you want to punch them sometimes because it's like, why are you so dominating? Why are you so? Can't you just take no for an answer?
Yeah.
But without them, the movie is not the movie.
Yeah.
Like without Jonah Hill, the movie's not Superbad, and without her, this movie's not.
Yeah, she's the
BookSmart.
main propeller to the plot. If
She's the propeller to the
she's
plot.
not the one who's
Yeah.
pushing the characters
Her
forward, then nothing will
character,
happen.
her character is necessary to make anything that happened in this movie happen.
Yeah, that's I can't fight with that. That's fair.
So I think the MVP's got to go to her because she, like, Amy's character is a very easy character to relate to.
Yeah.
Because I think more people generally are that kind of personality
Uh-huh.
where they're not too pushy, they're not too dominating.
Wait, you mean everyone doesn't have like 8 years of their life planned out
Yeah, exactly.
to the minute?
Yeah. But it's one of those things where I just feel like without her, the movie's not the same.
Yeah. No, and I think from an acting perspective, I don't think you are either an expert at many actors under the age of 25. Like I can't name very many, but she's definitely the only one I could imagine playing this role. She just has that energy, but also there's a confidence that you have to play this kind of role. And she really, like in that bathroom scene, she really exudes confidence, even though she gets her legs chopped off from underneath her. She really shows that. So
I think it's not to say that she I feel like she could play dramatic roles.
Really? I don't know. I feel like I can't imagine her.
But I feel like after you watch Superbad, you would have said the same about Jonah Hill.
Yeah, that's fair.
But we've seen Jonah Hill kind of evolve a little bit into playing a bit more versatile roles. Like he's been in a Moneyball. He's been in a couple where he hasn't had to be this over the top comedy crazy guy, right?
Maybe I am being unreasonable. I'm also not overly familiar with her work after this movie, so I should probably go explore that.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts on the film?
No, I think they pretty much covered it.
So would you recommend this to someone else? Like, would you rewatch it?
I would recommend it, and I would rewatch it. I think it's one of those movies like Superbad again that you can put on anytime and just have a laugh to.
It's definitely like one if you're at a cottage at night or like on vacation somewhere or on a movie. It's like a fun watch.
It's a movie you don't have to. You can
jump in and
you can jump in. You don't need to have full attention 100% into what's going on. It's a simple story. It's funny jokes. It's just a fun time. Yeah.
So with that being said, Umar, now that we're at the end of the podcast, what's my homework for this week?
All right, so your homework for this week. So I'm putting a little fast one on this one, just because I wanna give you two options. Usually we have one option on the go, and I'm just like, okay, this is your homework.
Mm-hmm.
So I have two options here, and there's only one reason why I have two options. Okay, so I have two specifically because since we are in a Shah Rukh Khan release week.
Okay.
So since we're in an SRK release week, it's his first release in 4 years. And I thought, look, we're doing a lot of talking about Pathaan. We're seeing it tomorrow. We're going to have a review out the day after. It's going to be a heavy SRK and SRK movie discussion week.
Mhm.
So I wanted to put one of his movies on the table, and I wanted to put another one on the table, and I want you to choose which one you want to do.
Okay. What are
Okay.
the movies?
So the SRK movie that I have on the table for you is
Uh-huh.
going back 4 years to his last release before this one, and there's a couple of reasons why. So I don't know. I know you've heard of it. I'm pretty sure you haven't seen it. It's
What's-
called Zero.
I have not seen it.
You have not seen it. So it's a 2018 release called Zero. It's his last release 4 years ago. This is a movie that tanked at the box office.
Mm-hmm.
It did not do well. But the reason I recommend it is one, because it's showing a completely different style of film that very clearly Shah Rukh Khan has moved away from 4 years later when he's coming out in this more mainstream action thriller.
Okay.
Okay, so it's representing one of those films that he tried over the last decade, whether it be a raw one, whether it be a fan, or whether it be this Zero. It's one of those ones that just didn't work when he tried something new. And we're coming 4 years later, about to see his new one where he's kind of re-imaging himself. So I want you to.
Was
I
this
was
movie
like,
a good movie?
so this movie was a movie that tanked at the box office. Okay, but it's definitely one that I would be interested to get your views on. I think it'll make a great episode.
Okay, and
podcast episode to talk about.
what's the other?
Now, your other option
Uh-huh.
is your more traditional film that I was going to give you, and this is a 2014, I believe, release starring Jason Bateman, called The Gift. And this is, I would call it a thriller. Definitely a thriller. I would maybe there's some maybe you can put the word mystery in there, but definitely a thriller movie. A thriller drama, I'd say.
Okay.
A thriller drama. Well acted. Keeps you hooked. Keeps you on the edge. You're wondering what's going on, and leaves you with an ending to think about. Which I appreciate. I always appreciate an ending in a movie where I'm like, whoa, cool, or like, whoa, like, let me think about it.
Okay, so the way you pitch these two movies, I'm gonna have to go with The Gift.
Okay.
The way it's been pitched, and my reasoning is A, I'm not trying to watch no flop. B, more importantly, we are already going to be spending quite a significant amount of time this week talking about talking and consuming Shah Rukh Khan content.
Yes.
So maybe my eyes might need a rest from Shah Rukh Khan's face.
This is a fair point.
So with that being said, next week's movie is the 2014, you said?
Yes, 2014, I believe. The Gift.
The Gift, starring Jason Bateman. Do you know where we can find that? Is that on Netflix?
It is on Netflix as far as I can remember.
Okay, so that's the 2014 movie, The Gift.
Sorry, it's a 2015. But
2015 film, The Gift, starring Jason Bateman. So that's our movie for.
That's our movie for.
It's not going to be our next episode, but next week, because our next episode, like we said, is going to be
the review
of Bataan.
Yeah. So for next week, which means next Tuesday, please tune in if you want to follow along with us. Watch The Gift, and join us in our conversation. When we have our movie discussions every week, they are spoiler reviews, not reviews, but spoiler discussions, because we talk about every aspect of the film that we liked and disliked or whatever it may be. So watch it and see what you think along with us, and please tune in to our bonus Bataan episode coming up in 2 days, and please go ahead and watch Bataan so you can get more out of that episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And as always, follow our socials. There will be linked all in our bio and in our bio pages for Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we have a YouTube channel as well. So please subscribe and comment and like and review.
And check us out on TikTok, Trading Movies.
But with that being said, have a good night and see you at the movies.
Take care.